Regardless, at the time, as per usual, all pundits made sure to disregard the move as only a marketing stunt, but his new teammates, well, they quickly realized Park wasn't just being signed to sell some shirts in Korea. As Skull said, Park was the toughest player I ever faced, just unbelievable. I would dread the thought of going to training. It was a nightmare. He would come to me, stare me in the face and tell me, "You won't even get a shot off today." And he was right every time. Before you knew it, the media's perception had changed. Now in a more defensive role, everyone was mind-blown by his tirelessness and determination. He was no longer Jisung Park, he was Tree Long Park, because, according to the fans, with stamina like that, he surely had to have an extra lung. In fact, at United, the admiration for this man was such that only 3 months into his time there, he had been handed the captain's armband for the first time. It was unbelievable. But unfortunately, no matter how well that first season went, the following season the injuries began haunting him once more, and by March, he was forced into the sidelines. Surgery was required once again, and Park would only make it back to the pitch 9 months later. At first, most feared the second surgery would have completely wrecked his knee, that at most, it would be a long time before he was back to his best. But once United made it to the Champions League quarterfinals, Sir Alex just knew he couldn't do it without Park, so he got called up, and man, it was unbelievable. After going through so much, he still excelled in both legs against Roma, and once Barcelona came in their way, no matter what he threw at him, no matter if it was Messi, Eto'o, Xavi or Deco, Jisung Park was arguably the man of the match both home and away. He was maybe the biggest reason why United had managed to make it to the final, which is why it hurt 10 times more when Sir Alex Ferguson left him not on the bench, but completely out of the team sheet, watching from the stands as United became champions of Europe. Once asked about it, Park has always kept his composure, saying only, "The team won, so I'm happy. It's frustrating not to play, but there will be other opportunities." Honestly, I thought he ever even confronted Sir Alex about his choice to leave him out, but there was no need. Once Sir Alex wrote his autobiography, it was there for everyone to see. The one thing about the 2008 final that I regret to this day was leaving Park completely out of the squad after he had played such a great role in getting us there. But in reality, Park was right, there would be other opportunities. In fact, just a year later he was getting his chance. After an incredible performance in the semi-finals against Arsenal that saw him not only opening the scoring but being involved in what many call the greatest counter-attack of all time, he was on the starting 11 for the final against Barcelona. But unfortunately, that time around, it simply was not meant to be. United lost, and we can only hope that the 4 trophies he won that season were enough to ease Park's pain. Regardless, despite the fact that next season Park struggled for game time, he would still be the first name on the list for every big game. Sir Alex was still well aware of how important he could be against the best of the best, and once they met AC Milan, Park played maybe the greatest game of his career. Fergie doesn't often fear players enough to assign them a bodyguard, but that day it was different. Pirlo was at the peak of his powers, and before the match, Fergie looked at Park and told him, "Your job today is Pirlo. That's all, Pirlo." As Rooney said, back then, Pirlo was averaging 110 passes per game. 60 to 70 of them were forward passes, the type that can really hurt you. So Fergie told him, "He cannot be allowed that pass. You cannot be 1 yard or 1 second late." I think Pirlo might have made 40 passes at most that game, and 95% of them were backwards. Park won the duel. And you know what's funny? Even Rooney underestimated just how great Park was that night. Pirlo didn't even get close to 40 passes. Not only did Park force him to settle for a mere 21, he even made sure to score one of the goals. Pirlo was so impressed with him that day that even years later he made sure to mention it in his autobiography, saying, "They unleashed Park to shadow me. They programmed him to stop me. His devotion to the task was almost touching. Even though he was a famous player, he had no issue consenting to be used as a guard dog." And finally, as Ferdinand would say, I'm sure Pirlo expected to wake up the next day and see Park in his bed beside him. Still, despite the fact that at that point Park was only 29, the end was near. The next season the injuries hit for a third time. Park struggled all year, but worked as hard as he could for one final chance at a Champions League final. 2 assists in the group stage helped him make it through. After missing the last 16 through injury, he even scored against Chelsea to put United in the semis. And once they beat Ralf Rangnick's Schalke, Park was in the final once more. But unfortunately, Barcelona would once again be there, waiting to snatch any silverware in reach. Years later, however, when asked about the final, Sir Alex would say, Jisung Park. That's where I lost that final at Wembley. At halftime, I should have put Park man-marking Messi. That was a mistake. We had just equalized going into halftime, we were playing well, I got overconfident. But if I had put Park on Messi, I think we would have beat them. I really do. But unfortunately for both of them, that time it really would be the last opportunity. The next season, Park really struggled with injuries once more. United went trophyless, iconically losing the league title to City in the last match of the season, and Park would never play for them again. The next season he joined QPR and was made captain straight away. Still, none of that stopped them from having a horrible season with only 4 wins, leading them to loan Park away to PSV following their relegation, where 1 year later, at 33 years of age, he announced his retirement, citing constant pain from his knee injuries as the reason. And that day, the world of football stood up for this tiny South Korean who had made it to 3 Champions League finals, won 19 trophies, and even managed a 4th place finish at a World Cup. He was undoubtedly the most successful East Asian player of all time.